All right, guys, coming at you today with my top 5 tips for beginners. So I don't want to say that again. This is some of my top 5 again of what I think would benefit anyone that's new to the gym. And I also kind of took this with a mindset of one, what are some things that I look back upon myself having done that I know would have got me ahead further. And so obviously some of it's just personal, just looking at what I've done, because again, even as a coach, you only know what one person does 24/7, and that's me. So I think my own personal experience is valuable, but then also this is the mindset of what I've seen working with hundreds and thousands of clients as far as some of the things that will fast track you, in your process of putting on as much muscle as possible. And so that's really the goal. Again, use a little bit of common sense here. I'm giving people advice, and the tips here are really the idea of how can you take your physique as far as possible. So it's the same as anything. If you're just a casual lifter, you're just looking to put on some muscle, you're gonna see, well, do I really wanna write this stuff down? Do I really wanna track it? Obviously not. It's the same as anything in life. There's various degrees of how far you wanna take it. But most of my content, the things I present, are for people that don't just want to be, the biggest guy in their local Planet Fitness. They want to take their physique as far as possible, and basically just see what they're capable of doing. So that's the stem of this, is some of the things that I think are going to be the biggest factors. And again, you having long-term sustainable success. And again, whatever it is for you, wherever your genetic limitations are, or whatever it is, how far can you take your physique, and what level of results can you attain? So number one is really going to be about mindset. And so again, when I say mindset, I look at things that are going to be related to dedication and adherence. And the reasons I think those are so important is because people get very, very caught up on looking for the perfect plan. And again, education in and of itself is never a bad thing. So I'm not saying don't try and find a split that makes the most sense for you. Don't try and find a rep range or a level of effort or the best exercises. All that's great. There's never anything wrong with trying to, increase your knowledge, and look for a better, more efficient path. But a big issue that some people have is they, kind of have paralysis by analysis. So they spend all of their time looking for this perfect deal, and they never actually spend any time dedicated or adhering to anything. Because again, the perfect plan doesn't produce any results if it's not adhered to. So again, I think people need to spend more time thinking about the things that will keep them dedicated and keep them adhering to their plan. And so one is literally take some time thinking about what specifically your goals are. Is it some short-term stuff? Maybe 6 months from now, I'd like to put on 10 pounds of muscle. Maybe 10 years from now, I'd like to be able to compete in a bodybuilding show. So take some time to actually write down your goals, think about what they are, and then most importantly, think about why they're important to you. Again, a lot of people have superficial reasons for getting into things sometimes. They just see a post, they see a picture, they see something superficial about someone's journey that maybe got them where they are, and they think, man, that seems good, that seems fun. But the reality is, if you don't have something that's kind of deep-seated and emotional to make you actually come back to staying dedicated, then that's what's going to happen. When motivation starts to wane, if it's just the superficial thing that's temporarily driving you, then again, when things get tough or you're doing some stuff you don't want to do, you're going to get to the point where, again, motivation wanes. And if you don't have dedication, you're not going to stick to or adhere to your plan. So again, write down your goals and then spend some time thinking about, again, why is that emotionally important to you? And there's no 100% right or wrong answer. I'm not saying there is something specific. There's absolutely going to be something different from person to person, whether it's for the idea of confidence or just accomplishing something, or if it is something that you want to be a part of your career or who knows what. There could be a whole bunch of different reasons, again, but just make sure it's something important and specifically emotionally important to you. And then the last thing I'll say again for this top tip as far as mindset type stuff goes, and again, this kind of lends to what I was talking about a little bit, is adopt the mindset that you can always get better. You can always improve. And this kind of goes into a whole bunch of areas of training. A lot of people just get stuck. People make the mistake of, they read a lot and they learn a lot and they really get into it for a year or for 2 years and they think they're an expert. When the reality is, if you keep that growth mindset for a decade, for 2 decades, just imagine how much farther you would get, as opposed to getting 1 or 2 years into something, getting this false idea that you're all of a sudden an expert, and then you stop growing and you stop learning. So again, could be anything with nutrition, with training, with your work ethic. I always say to people, it's just say right now, step one, I can always do better, I can always work harder, I can always learn more. And again, as long as you're consistently adhering to and applying things in a plan, then that knowledge that you can always improve and always get better will help keeping you growing and help keeping you make progress. Because again, everything with training is adaptive. So what worked today is not going to work the same 10 years from now, 20 years from now. And that's why that growth mindset is massively important. Number 2 is managing recovery. So with recovery, I'm talking about nutrition, I'm talking about sleep, I'm talking about stress, and those are kind of going to be the big 3. So the number 1 thing I would say really, and again, you could really argue between nutrition and sleep. The reality is you need both, so I don't really like to say which one's more important than the other. But nutrition, again, consistency and adherence is king. People spend a lot of time looking for the perfect diet, the perfect macros, whatever. I think it's good to have a baseline of, especially for muscle building, establish a protein minimum, whether that's 1 gram per pound of body weight or whatever number you want to go by. Establish something that's going to help your recovery. And then from there, pick something that you can adhere to and support your goals. So again, there's a lot of people that have made great progress, doing higher carbs, lower fat. There's people that have done moderate carbs, higher fat. There's people that do carb cycling. There's people that even have done some sort of fasting. There's a whole bunch of different methods that absolutely work as far as actually pointing at results. But people, again, spend too much time looking for the perfect plan and spend less time of thinking about what can I actually adhere to. And again, if you're trying to put on as much muscle as you can, if you're trying to take your physique as long as possible, realize this is going to be a decade and a half type journey where you're on this for the long haul. So if you're doing something that's just short term, you can't really maintain, it's something that's just really a pain in the butt for you. You can only do it for a day or 2 or a week at a time before you start to say, oh man, I can't stick with this, then it's really not the right diet for you. So with nutrition, instead of spending a whole lot of time looking for the exact specific perfect plan, keep the mindset of what can I actually do for a long period of time? What will I be comfortable doing a year from now, 10 years from now? And then reality, of course, is there's always going to be a degree of discomfort. No one gets in contest shape if your goal is to compete. No one puts on 50 pounds of muscle with at some point having a degree of discomfort, not choosing to eat whatever junk food is all the time, or sometimes having to force feed yourself, whatever it is. Do something consistent, do something you adhere to, and then track it. However you want to track it, whether it's looking at calories or looking at your macronutrients. Obviously, if you know your macronutrients, you're going to know your calories. Whether you like to weigh stuff or scale stuff or food prep, doesn't really matter. But if you're not keeping consistent track of what you're doing, you don't really know what's going on with your nutrition. You don't know really what change is producing what. So again, if you do something different every single day, it's hard to look back on things and know what helped aid you making progress and what maybe didn't work for you. From there, sleep. A lot of people mess up on sleep. So one is an amount is obviously very important, and there's nothing revolutionary I can provide here. For the most part, that 8 hours of sleep is going to be a minimum. And the reality is the harder you train, the more sleep you're likely going to need. So again, while 8 hours is a good recommendation for most people, if you're training your ass off, if you're putting on tons of tissue, you might need more like 9 or even 10 at various points in time. And if you're really into it even more so, at some point in time, you can look into sleep quality. So actually tracking the different types of sleep. When are you getting that deep sleep and all those types of things? Because yes, quantity is important, but quality is also important long run as well too. And the last one that's a little bit tougher, but is at least worth being aware of, is stress. Sometimes you can't manage life stress. Sometimes you can. The reality is the more stressed you are, the more things you have going on, the more that can impair recovery. So again, sometimes it's just a matter of acknowledgement. If you're going through a big life stress at some point in time, if you've lost a job, you've just gone through a breakup, you're going through a move, who knows what, just be realistic and know that that stress is going to limit your recovery. Might not be the best time to make crazy progress, hit PRs, all that kind of stuff. But for little stuff, sometimes it could just be managing who's in your life, situations you put yourself. Just be aware that if you can manage stress, the more you manage it, the more you keep it out of your life as much as possible or manage your response to it, all of that aids in recovery. It's a very real thing that can impact your progress within the gym. Number 3 is going to be write down and track your workouts. So again, this is going to be one where I'm not going to tell you exactly what to do. You just need to do something. And so again, this isn't a matter of, do you do more of a high intensity, low volume style? Do you do a higher volume style? Are you trying to constantly, it doesn't matter. The specifics aren't important. The most important part is just keep track of something, because if you don't have any baseline, if you don't have anything to look back on, you have no idea if you're making progress. So just start writing some things down. Obviously, write out the workouts that you're doing consistently, write out the exercises that you're doing consistently, and again, just look back and see, am I making progress? It's the simple thing that, again, because training is adaptive, if you're doing the exact same thing and you look at your workout a year ago and it's the same as today, that should be a wake-up call to know I need to change something. And the reality is, once you start writing things down, you'll find out what's useful to you and what's not. It's like, do you write down every single warm-up set or every single exercise or just some key ones? And again, that will help you at least stop, look at your workouts, think about your workouts, and get some ideas of what's working and what's not working. So again, when I look at people, again, over the course of a whole bunch of people that have trained and people that have made progress and people that haven't, it's a very, very common thing to see the people that make the most progress consistently write down and track their workouts. But again, whatever it is that you write down, just start doing something. And again, you'll fine tune what is actually the most important for you to track and keep progress of. The next one, number 4, is take measurements. So again, what does take measurements mean? Just something, again, to look back and see, am I making progress? So I think a bare minimum for everyone is take pictures. Take pictures of yourself the same time every single day, in the same position, the same lighting, the same everything, as much as you can replicate. So again, you have your shots from the front, the side, the rear. I'm going to tell you right now, there's not a person on the planet that doesn't feel awkward and like a weirdo the first time they're taking progress pictures. No one likes to take start pics because the pictures you're looking at aren't where you ultimately want to be. But every single human on the planet is so happy they took those start pics once they start to make measurable progress. So again, even if you don't feel like doing it today, yourself 3 months from now, 6 months from now, a year from now, 10 years from now will be very, very happy that you have those start points. And it's a reminder of all the progress you've made, but also again, it's one of those things, if you're looking to constantly make progress and if you don't have something to actually look back at and measure progress against, you don't really know if you're making any. And again, if your goal is for aesthetic reasons, you want to look a certain way for yourself, for competing, whatever it is, pictures are the most important. All the other variables are important, but not as much as pictures. So again, take the pictures and that be your baseline to see is, are you actually progressing in the direction you want to go? And then from there, the rest is bonus. I say you might as well get on the scale. Obviously, if you're trying to put on muscle, actually seeing if the scale's going up at some capacity eventually will have to happen. Of course, there could be a time of getting leaner or putting on muscle. Sometimes both can happen at the same time. But again, get on the scale, if nothing else, just to have awareness of where you're at. From there, the next I would say is take measurements. Again, if you're looking to get bigger arms, bigger chest, bigger legs, again, even more so than the scale, taking some measurements will be a great gauge of, again, am I making progress? And lastly, if you have access to it, body fat can be great. That's very cool if you have a trainer that can do it, or if you ever have access to a DEXA scan or a bod pod or one of those things, that's all bonus type stuff. But again, as a bare minimum, take some measurements. 1, you'll be happy you have them, but 2, it'll just bring some awareness to what am I doing? Am I actually making progress? Am I moving in the right direction? And lastly, number 5, if I had to sum it up, is get a training partner. So more so even than getting a training partner is get a network of people around you that will support you. There's the saying that's something along the lines of you're the sum of the 5 relationships or the 5 people that are closest to you. And obviously that's a saying about everywhere in life. It's especially going to be true with your training as well too. So 1, I'm not saying you can't make progress or get great results training by yourself. Of course you can, but when it comes to continually taking your physique to next levels, some of it's even a matter of semantics. You're going to be at a time maybe when training to or past failure is going to be something you need to do, or just a matter of safety. But then also so much of his mindset, try and find a like-minded training partner. There should be some healthy competition with training partners where it's competition and also encouragement, where you're trying to, 1, you're making progress, you're trying to get somewhere, you change your physique. And if you have someone doing those same things alongside with you, it's motivating, it's inspiring, and it's also some accountability. It's like your support group. And then in reality, kind of like I said in number 1, is take the mindset that you can always be better, you can always improve, you can always expand your knowledge. And so that's why it's not just about a training partner, it can also be about your network of people that you're around. Personally, as a coach, as a trainer, I've made it my goal over the past decade to make sure I'm getting at least 1 or 2 additional certifications or seminars a year. And that's just a very simple, easy thing that I can do to put myself in a network of people and around people that will help me go along my way. So if you're a trainer or you're just looking to do more education, it's about getting around people that are going to move you forward. And then for me, the same thing as well. It's been a benefit for me to be around other amazing trainers, amazing athletes, for the reality too of not just I can increase my knowledge, but getting around people that make me realize I can increase my effort, seeing people that are even more dedicated or more motivated. So again, I can see what people are adhered to, people that live the lifestyle, people that are robotic about it. So have people around you that are going to support what you're looking to do. And again, as the other side of that, make sure that you're not around people that are going to hold you back. Again, if it's important for you, if you're just kind of a casual lifter putting on some muscle, have fun, do your thing. But if you're wanting to try and take this far, you want to have a group of people around you that you can count on to help take you that direction and help support you going as far as you can. So that is it. That is my top 5. Again, kind of with the idea or mindset of things that I wish I knew when I started. Some things that at some point in time I had to adopt or adhere to, but had I started a little bit earlier, probably would have been a little bit more beneficial. And again, things I've seen with many, many clients as well too. So per the usual, if you enjoy the video, please, give me some thumbs up, give me some comments below, hit that subscribe button if you haven't, and share with friends, family, coworkers, fellow meatheads, pretty much everybody that you know. And as always, again, like I said, feedback below. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and until the next one.